Welcome back to Stu Structures. I'm going to try something different here. It's kind of a filler video when I don't have time to get some other videos out there. We're just going to take a walk through the boneyards today, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Stu Structures. I am Mark Stewart, your favorite Pharaoh equestrianologist, and we're going to take a slightly different turn in this video. I've been putting together some slides and stuff for a while of the boneyards, which is the title of this video. There's a scenic railroad that operates out of the town down here that I live in, and the same guy also operates 2 or 3 other little small excursion lines. And over a period of time, I've talked to him, and I'm going to go ahead and do a little video on each of the different lines that he operates. But I just had a little bit of time the last few weeks. I went down and took some pictures of some of the equipment and stuff down here that's in the yards. And I'm just going to show you a bunch of that stuff. And this is the boneyards. Every railroad usually has one spot, especially older railroads like this and not mainline railroads, where they have just, tons of equipment and stuff sitting around that they want to work on and add to the use that they have on the railroad. But this railroad has quite a bit of it. They had originally planned on rebuilding a roundhouse in Elkins, West Virginia, and turning it into a museum for rail stuff. So in any case, there's a lot of unique equipment sitting down here. So I'm just going to do a walkthrough and show you some of the boneyards. So let's just jump into it. As I come onto the property, I need to go get permission, let them know I'm going to be on the property. And as I'm going up to the work areas where these guys are that I need to talk to, just coming across this F7B unit. You can see they have one of the power trucks off of the unit, and it's sitting up on railroad ties right now. But a really nice piece of equipment. This is something they typically use on their excursion trains. And you can see the shop in the background here, so we're going to walk over here and catch up with some of the guys that are working here real quick and let them know what's going on. And as we get to the shop, it took a few minutes to find somebody. They were kind of scattered throughout the yard, but just took a real quick in shot from this building of the insides here. Not a lot of frills in the shop, but after getting permission, I came back out, and the first 2 units sitting outside of the area here are these first one's an F7 unit. This C&O unit sitting here, and everything's kind of tight in the yard, so I'm just getting quick shots of them however I can get them. One of the pride and joys is this BL2 unit here in the Western Maryland Fireball scheme. Just a very nice looking locomotive, and they use this quite frequently. They do swap out locomotives on their runs here and there when they can, or if something needs to be worked on, they swap it out with another unit and put something else back in. You'll see they have quite a few units sitting around the yard. Now their main passenger train, we're just going to take a good look at real quick here, because it was sitting in the yard the day I was down here, and it's called the New Taggart Fly. It does go down the Taggart Valley River, and it's ran by the Durban and Greenbriar Valley Railroad. West Virginia actually owns the tracks. And the 2 main units that are on the head end of this train right now are this Western Maryland F unit. Once again, in a nice paint scheme, not the Fireball, but number 243. And just in pretty good shape really for the age. All these diesels are some of the earlier diesels, and they're just in really good maintained shape. There's a lot of stuff sitting around the yard that needs a lot of serious tender loving care, but and then here's the second unit, the Western Maryland number 67. Same paint scheme, and these 2 units are what is hauling the main passenger train consist that's sitting in here in the yard of what they're running currently. And they do run a fairly long passenger train. And I'm just going to go back through and take shots of all these. Here's an old heavyweight on 6-wheel passenger trucks. the car behind that. There are 2 dining cars in this train right at the moment, several seating cars, and also a power car at the far end, which you will see. But just, you know, it's quite a good sized train. They do get a lot of people come here to ride this train. And you know, some of it's more modern, slick side, some of it's bud cars with the corrugated sides on them, and then there are some that are heavyweight. So it's a mixture of all kinds of different equipment with different backgrounds that comes from different railroads that make up this train. And here you can see the power car. This is at the tail end right now. When they get to the far end of their run, they have a run around where they can take the engines and bring to this end to pull it back down the railroad to here when they on their return trip. Now I'm just going to go behind the area that they work on stuff, and you can just kind of give you some glimpses of a few things that are back here. There's also these 2 units. They have one train that they run that has to have short cars on it, and they have this old postal car and passenger car connected right now to make that run with. The area that this one runs up to, there's a real narrow tunnel, and they have to use short cars to get up through that part of it. So these were setting there for that. And then back to this other area, you can see this old B&O GP unit sitting back in here with a cover on it. They do have this in their consist quite frequently. They have 2 B&O cars here that they use to pull their trains with on occasion. And this one is just kind of tightly packed back in here. I'm not sure what they've got going on with it right now. And then there's just tons of passenger cars sitting all over the yards down in here. So if you're a passenger car enthusiast, you can come down here and just get all kinds of pictures of various cars. They're from a lot of different railroads. You see some old Amtrak cars in here. And the other thing they have are just tons of different types of early diesels. This FA unit here, you know, just another example. They are currently doing some work on this. I'm assuming at some point in time they plan on bringing this into some of their normal consist as well, and their swap outs that they do with the other diesels. Just, you know, the back end of one of the cars with the buffers between the cars here. This car here, it has a little side entrance door on it. This was used in one of the national trains that went around the country, and this, you know, had displays and stuff on the inside of it as it toured the country. And you can see it's just a nice old observation unit. It's in really good shape on the outside here. I've not been inside this car. And some things are just really packed in. I mean, I just kind of took this shot because it shows the back end of another old heavyweight observation back in here, and the end of this trolley car as well. They used this on that short run one time up through the tunnels and stuff, but it just really didn't have enough weight to actuate the signals and stuff, so they went to using other equipment, and this has kind of sat here since then. Here you see another Amtrak combination car. And this old C&O GP unit sitting back in here in odd paint, but originally I think was a C&O unit. I haven't followed the background on all this equipment sitting down here. It's something I need to do in the future. And they have some maintenance away cars sitting down in here that they plan on working on rebuilding, because they do most all their own maintenance. They're currently building several miles of railroad track that was washed out in the 1985 bad floods in West Virginia, and excuse me. So anyway, a lot of this stuff, you know, just various angles and various shots as I can make my way around and get shots back in here of some of this stuff. If you want to know more about some of this stuff, leave some notes in the comments below, and maybe I can go down and get some more information on a particular unit if you're looking for something. This old passenger car sitting here, it's sitting on the ground right now. I'm sure they're using the trucks for something else. That was hit by a logging truck up in the mountains, and thank God nobody, you know, was seriously hurt. I'm not sure the truck driver may have been hurt in this, but it bent the frame, so they can't use this car anymore. And there's just a long shot of part of one of the back road sidings, and I'm just going to go down through here and take individual shots of a lot of the cars that are down through here. You have this B&O caboose. You have this caboose here, which I'm not sure of the heritage of this. It kind of reminds me of some of the old C&O steel cabooses, but I'm not really sure. Some old heavyweight cars. This is an old Santa Fe car on four-wheel trucks sitting in here. Just all kinds of stuff. This nice metal rounded topped box car sitting back in here. I'm not sure of the heritage of it. The doors remind me of an a fridge car, but I'm not really sure what it was, and I haven't looked it up. A couple more older diesels, a switcher and another FA unit sitting back in here. Most of the side is gone off of this unit. A couple of more modern waffle box CSX cars. They do buy some new cars from CSX when they're getting ready to be scrapped so they can store stuff in them. They have a couple of 280s. This one failed its boiler inspection, so it can never be rebuilt to be used. There is another one they are rebuilding to use. This one hopefully will end up back on some of its home turf at some point for a static display, and hopefully have some good paint on it at some point in time. And there's this E unit sitting down here. Those of you who've been to the B&O Museum probably recognize this from that at one point in time. It sat up there. It's been here in Belington, West Virginia for a long time in the yards. It was kind of a hope that this would end up as part of a good museum piece. It doesn't have a prime mover, and chances are they'll never be able to find one for it at this point in time. But it's a nice car, though. And just going back down the road, taking another look at some of these cars, I really have a good interest in this rounded top box car. Then there's this Harriman type roof on this baggage car. Another fluted side passenger car sitting back in here. There are just tons of different stuff. If you were needing reference material for any of these types of cars, you just need to come to West Virginia and check out this yard. It's this small diesel. They used to use this to move stuff around the yard. Now it's kind of sitting back here idle. Another power car. I think they did use this at one point in time, but now it just needs to be rebuilt. And another passenger car sitting back in here. And this is the last piece on the end of that row of equipment. Sitting back in behind that, there's a couple of flat cars. These were piggyback flats at one point in time. On this one piggyback, you can see here they have a turntable. This was going to be used for the roundhouse area in Elkins, West Virginia, when it was going to be rebuilt. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to make that happen or not. And of course, the tender for that 280 that's being rebuilt is sitting here until they need it. And just a few more shots of some of the power equipment that's sitting back in here behind the shop areas as well. Old RS units and stuff like that. They, and then here I'm just going to go down and give you some shots of a lot of the junk that sits down through the yard. A lot of people don't know how to model just, stuff that sits around the yard, and there's just one long area that just has tons of this stuff. A couple prime movers sitting down through here, some steam chests and stuff off of some of the locomotives. Here's the cab off of that locomotive that they're rebuilding, and some other odd parts sitting here. You'll find diesel parts, you'll find steam parts, you'll find signal parts, you'll find wheels off of all kinds of stuff sitting down through here. So if you're doing scenery around some of your shop or yard areas, this is just the kind of stuff and the kinds of piles that you'll see sitting around in yards. It's just typical of any type of a yard. And here's a long shot looking down through that whole area between these two tracks. It's just, a complete long area. And of course, there's always wheels sitting on side tracks at some point in time for projects they got going on. Some of these are for freight. Some of them are geared wheels for locomotives. And just even little stuff like this, which, a lot of yards have these to keep people from coming down the yard any farther than they need to be. So, just all this stuff is stuff that you need to take in consideration and look at when you're building your yards. Okay, So I had shot a end piece for this video when I was down at the railroad, but I don't know, something happened and the file was corrupted, and I'm on the road this week and staying with a friend. So I came out here in this makeshift shed for the time being just to throw something together for the end of this video, just so I can get it out there. In any case, I want to thank you all for coming back and watching my videos and spending this time with me. Hopefully in the next couple weeks I can get back into the freight house. I have done a little work on it, but just, you know, everything in life just has me really tied up, and I apologize for the slowness of some of these videos coming out, even though, you know, I had warned everybody this was probably going to happen. I was hoping to be through all this long before now. But in any case, and also when I was doing some of the overlays, you know, we had a thunderstorm. Thank God for the rain. We've been extremely dry, but I'm sure there's a blast and some sound in some of the recording on the video here that was a little loud, and I apologize for that as well. But in any case, you know, the boneyards are something, you know, if you're a modeler and you're out there wanting to model some trains, sometimes, you know, there's none of these cars existing still in the world today. So the only way to be able to get pictures or something of some cars, because, you know, there just aren't pictures of some things, is to find things like this in boneyards somewhere to go and measure or take pictures of, or you know, get information on them. So anyway, I just enjoy walking down through the yard and looking at a lot of this old equipment. Some of it's stuff that I'll never model, but I'm a, you know, a B&O modeler, and the C&O and the Western Maryland, as they went into the chassis area, is about the end of the period that I really like, even though my main modeling period is really the steam era. But you know, a lot of these diesels and stuff here in the yard are really old diesels, and for those of you even modeling the transition periods, a few of these earlier models were things that you would have seen around during that period of time, and definitely the early diesel period, man, it's you know, fairly well covered here with a lot of the stuff that's here. So in any case, this is in Belington, West Virginia. I'm going to go more into all the individual railroads that this railroad operates and the runs they do, and give you more information on the railroad itself in some future videos. I've talked to the CEO of the railroad, and he's agreed to let me come through and do this type of thing. They operate Cass Scenic Railroad in West Virginia, and the Durban Rocket, which is in Durban, West Virginia, and this Taggart Flyer, which its main station is Elkins, West Virginia, but all this area where I filmed all this and the boneyards and stuff is actually in Belington, West Virginia, which is 11 or so miles away from Elkins as the crow flies. So in any case, you know, like I said, more of that information will be coming out in the future, and I just wanted to get this out there to have something out there, and you know, let you see what's going on in my backyard. Maybe I can catch some trains running around this system. They do some freight movements as well, and we'll go into that in some of my future videos. But in any case, like I said earlier, thank you for coming back and sharing this time with me. I do appreciate it, and hopefully before long we can get back on to doing a video every week and get back on track with our builds, and see where life takes us at that point in time. In any case, like and subscribe, and you know, share this with friends. A lot of people don't know this stuff's here in the middle of West Virginia, and really you could come here and ride trains for, you know, the better part of a week and never ride the same train twice all around the state of West Virginia. There's really a lot of scenic excursions here in the state. Maybe one of these years, maybe we could do a YouTube meetup here in West Virginia, and we could spend a whole week. But for those of you that normally just do weekend things, we could set up something pretty exciting for a good weekend, I'm sure. So in any case, thank you again, and happy model railroading.